Hey Homelabbers, we've been asked a bunch of times to do a tour of our rack, and it's time to do it. And what's better than a single rack tour, you might ask? How about 3 of them? So in this video, we're gonna go through the 2GT rack here at the studio, the one that runs everything we do here, John's rack at home that's part of his home lab and edit studio, and Brandon's rack that he uses in his home lab and as a bonus, works as our offsite DR for the video content we create here at the studio. You ready guys? Let's get to it. Welcome to the Two Guys Tech server cabinet. This is a 42U APC server rack that we got a while back that's been RGB lit. Looks very nice. Yeah, that was John's idea. Anyway, let's open it up, look inside. Okay, inside here, we'll start at the top, work our way down. We've got a Ubiquiti USW aggregation switch. We talked about this a long time ago. We did a video about it. It's an 8-port, 10 gigabit switch, super affordable, and it's the core of our network. Like everything aggregates into it and it's the fastest. And everything in the cabinet is all 10 gigabit or multi 10 gigabit, like 2x10 in a lag or something like that. But it all aggregates into this guy here. Next is that Sophos SG330 Rev 2 firewall box that I converted into a pfSense firewall, hardware firewall. It's been awesome. And I highly, highly recommend that you get yourself one of those and build it because it's a lot of fun and it works really, really well. Anyway, you'll see here we've got a single 1 gig internet connection into it. The connection here that we have at home is 1 gigabit, so it comes in via copper. And then there's a 10 gig SFP plus out that aggregates back into the core switch. The reason why it's 10 gig, even though there's only 1 gig coming into it, is because this is our layer 3 core routing for the network. Like if you watch the video, we talked about how we have different VLANs, they have different security zones. We want to keep certain stuff in one VLAN and not allow it to get to another VLAN, and it all basically passes through this cable and is managed by firewall rules in the pfSense firewall. Anyway, super, super awesome piece of gear. Like, you couldn't be happier with it. Next, we have a Ubiquiti USW Pro 24-port switch, not the PoE version of it, because it was like an extra $100 and it's a server cabinet. You don't need to have PoE in here. There's nothing that needs power over Ethernet. And it's where all the 1 gig stuff comes in, right? We've got some devices in the cabinet that are 1 gig. If we have like PCs or things that we're testing, it's all gonna connect to 1 gig. And the rest of the stuff in the studio and in the house, the Wi-Fi, all those things, they're all 1 gigabit connected. So they go bounce through other switching and they all come back into this guy. It has 2 10 gig connections in a lag, an LACP trunk up to the core switch so that there's effectively 20 gigabit of connectivity between, because there's a lot of devices in there, right? So then we have some brush pass-throughs to kind of keep the cabling look nice. That's it for like the networking aspect of it. And there's a lot going on here as far as networking is concerned. I super encourage you to check out that Sophos video we did, because I talk about the network design and why it's important that we did what we did. So it might help you if you're designing networks and creating zones and whatnot. But let's talk about servers. This guy up top here used to be known as Superboy, which was our single host, dual socket ESXi host that basically ran all the virtual machines and everything that we used. And oh, by the way, all of these machines are all running the same type of CPU. They're all Haswell, so they're E5-2680 V4 CPUs, which are still the best price point for like getting performance and getting older gear. Highly recommend those. The scalables are just too expensive still. Anyway, so this guy used to do just virtualization, and now it is a TrueNAS scale box that's just doing SAN. We call it Super SAN because it's running iSCSI and iSCSI and NFS mounts on it. And that allows us to serve all the data over here to the virtual host that we just built, which was we'll talk about in a second. It's been great. It's an awesome box. We've got a bunch of really big drives in it, a bunch of 14 terabyte drives, some SSDs to act as a fast and slow pools and all that stuff. And it's good. Check out the video. We talked about how we built it. That's important. Next on the list here is another Supermicro box. It's a single socket, and it's running TrueNAS scale as well. It's just a storage target for our Nextcloud data. So when John and I are working and we're making videos and we're recording tons of video, like the video you're watching right now, all of that raw video gets stored in Nextcloud, and that data storage backend is in this box here. So Nextcloud is running on a VM, and it's storing all of its information here. The reason why that's important is that when we're at the studio, we shoot a bunch of video like we're shooting now,
We store it in Nextcloud. John goes home and he synchronizes that data for the project that he's working on at home. He can edit at home because he doesn't live here, and that makes it really easy. Then it automatically synchronizes it back. And so this is the home of that. It's all of this is like, there's like 4 terabyte, I think they're like Red Pro drives, WD Red Pros in this. And they're all just basically just dedicated to storing Two Guys Tech video. It is also a system that allows us to DR, disaster recovery, that data over to Branden's place so that we can replicate certain data that's super important that we don't lose, right? So if this place burns down, the studio burns down, or this thing, I don't know, something irrecoverable happens, we have the data in multiple locations. All right, moving on. The last guy down here, I don't want to say it's my favorite box, but it's the newest box we've got. We just built this recently. This is that dual node super micro box that, you know, it's split in half, and there's an entire 2-socket server, an A and a B, and they're both running ESXi. They work as a cluster, so if a machine, a virtual machine, needs to move over for better performance, it'll automatically move it to the other host. If one of these nodes dies because, I don't know, things break and there's a failure, it'll automatically start the machines over here, and it's just been awesome. And the nice thing about it is that it allows me to do maintenance on this. Like, I can shut down this node, I can move all the VMs over here without interrupting anything and shut down the node, do work. I can pull stuff in and out of it, put it back in, turn it back on, and everything works without taking down the network, which is really important, especially when we're trying to do a lot of data transfers. And it's highly recommended. You want to get into Homelab and you want a lot of power in a small box because there's 2 servers in one 2U package. How could you not love it? Anyway, it's awesome. And there's a video about that as well. Moving on, our last but not least here, behind this little door, this is our beloved old Synology DS 2115 Plus, I think it is. Yeah, excuse me, 2415 Plus. It's been so long, I forgot the model number. Anyway, it used to do everything for us way back in the day, and it holds a lot of data. There's 70 terabytes just in this alone, which is a lot. It used to store Two Guys Tech stuff, it used to store my personal stuff as my home NAS. And it's just really old now. So basically all we use it for is as a backup system, backup target for all the stuff you see here. So Synology has a really fantastic backup software that's free with it, which is mind-blowing. And it backs up virtual machines. So all the VMs get backed up into it. All of the Nextcloud data for the studio stuff gets backed up into it. And, you know, because the virtual machine stuff in there, but it is now just a backup target because that's the best it can really do. It has a hard time doing anything else but backups. It's also 4 by 1 gigabit, but so it's in a 4 gigabit lag that comes up into this Ethernet switch here, but it's only at best 1 gigabit. So it does a good job. I'm not going to get rid of it because it's 40 terabytes and it does great work. And that backup software is awesome. And anyway, that is basically all of the stuff that we use here at the studio. There's more space below, and it's not really worth showing you because we have most of it blocked off. When we get hardware in to do reviews and testing, that's where it goes. We mount it below and keep it away from our stuff so we can get good video of it and connect it up into our gear and get it working. At the bottom of the cabinet, which you can't see, is just a APC 2200 UPS that's running 240 volt, and it's just there to keep everything alive in case the power goes out. I have a bunch of IoT junk up here that is all, you know, in separate VLANs that connects up here. It's not worth showing. I do have a temperature sensor that's running here, and then that's about it. So hope you enjoyed it, and let's move on to John's place and see what he's got.
All right, and welcome to my office / 2GT editing room. And in the corner, I have my modest rack. I don't know how else to say it. We start with Rich's, and then we're like, hey, it's John's little guy. All right, we'll start from the top. So I have this Macintosh Classic, which Rich put together that I absolutely love. So when I say Rich put it together, what do I mean? Well, he bought this with the intention to rebuild it and fix it up into its former glory. Unfortunately, when he took it apart, that just was not possible. So in a video that he made, we actually have a Mac Mini inside, and then this is actually a USB powered screen. So it's neat because I can show, you know, my pfSense box interface, and I can show, you know, the flying toaster screensaver, just anything I want on there. It's just kind of a neat retro piece right there. And then below that, this is like the center of my rack. This is the most important thing I have here. and that is my TrueNAS Mini Plus X. Amazingly, this has every single video that this channel has ever produced, and it has 37 terabytes in it, and it has 10G ports. And the great thing about that is I can actually edit our videos off of this NAS and not have to download everything to my NVMe. I can just have, Adobe Premiere's video cache on the NVMe and have everything readily available at my fingertips. So it used to be, I need older content, I'd have to download it and go take a break. Now I can just, the workflow has just been amazing with it. I love it. And if you wanted to, you could do containers on it, you could do VMs on it. It's just a great little box. Here's my pfSense box, which is my firewall, and I also have a tunnel going to Rich's place. Okay, next I have a Ubiquiti 8-port enterprise switch. It's all PoE, but I'm only using one PoE port just for a long-range AP. Highly recommend that. It goes far. There's a reason they call it long range. And then these two ports are 10G. One's going to the TrueNAS box, and then one's going to my computer. The rest of this stuff is just, this is a good place to put it. And that's basically all of my home automation stuff. So let's start with the Eufy security hub I have here. Think of it like Ring, but local storage. And that's what this does. It's just everything is stored right here. And next I have a hub by Bond. And this is pretty neat because it's basically a fan controller for all your ceiling fans that have remote controls. And with Schmexmexa, you can just say, hey, set it to this fan speed, just change different modes, and it does that. Turn lights on and off. It's pretty neat, and it is surprising how well it works. For all the random smart home things, I have a Samsung SmartThings, and it just controls anything you can imagine that you just kind of have a single item of. So like Z-Wave, Zigbee, Bluetooth. And then next I have a Gen 1 Philips Hue hub. Probably needs to be retired, but it's still hanging in there. And then next I have a Yolink hub, and this controls basically just water leak sensors. So I can put those under sinks or under the water heater, things like that, and it will throw me a text if it detects water. Pretty neat. And lastly, I have a Lutron hub here, and that is for the in-wall switches. And it's, a lot of smart home stuff has a bit of a delay, but Lutron stuff, like as soon as you hit the button or you tell Schmexmexa turn the light on, it is instantaneous. So I highly recommend that. So not the craziest rack like Rich has, but it's my rack and I like it. But with that, we should go take a look at what Branden has.
Welcome to the 2GTDR site, otherwise known as my garage. Let's start at the top. Here I've got a pfSense router. It's an old gaming computer that has an i5 6600K in it with 16 gigs of RAM and an 80 gig SSD. This can be a lot for pfSense, you might think, but it works out, and hey, it was free. Up next, we have my base T core switch. This is a Dell PowerConnect 5524, and it has 24 base T ports at 1G and then 2 10G SFP ports. Next is the PowerConnect 8132. This is my core switch, and it holds all of the networking for my servers. It does all my backups, it does all my routing for my ESXi host, and it's full 10 gigabit. It even has an add-on module for a 10G base T, which you can swap out for a 40 gig QSFP Plus module if you want. This is my ESXi host right here. It is a Dell R440 with 2 Xeon scalables in it. It has 128 gigs of RAM, and it's where all my VMs sit. This here is the Dell R730XD, and it's currently functioning as my TrueNAS scale box. It's the host for all of my storage, all of my ESXi storage, all of the file storage, all of my ISOs, all sits on this box. It has 2 E5 2660 V3s, and it's 48 gigs of RAM. It also has 12 4 terabyte nearline SATA drives in it. This is my newest box, the Quanta D52B-1U. It has 2 Xeon scalable CPUs in it, 96 gigs of RAM, and a 25 gig NIC on the back. I've currently been using it for my XCP-ng host as I test moving VMs from VMware to XCP-ng. And finally, we have another old gaming computer, but this one's acting as a scale box. It's a Ryzen 3 3200G with 32 gigs of RAM and 8 2 terabyte nearline SATA drives as well. This hosts all the replication for backups and is another safe place to store all of our data. Now that you've seen all our racks, let's head back to the studio so we can wrap this up.
Nice rack!
Hello and welcome to the end of the video.
It's the end.
The end. With Brandon and Richard and John.
And John.
And John. Hello. So, Rich, let's start with you.
Okay.
Your nice little server you got downstairs.
It's my nice little rack.
Your nice little
Nice rack. Yeah.
Oh,
I've been waiting all video to do
I've been waiting for this guy to because he posted something on Instagram adding RGB lighting.
Mhm.
I was waiting for Rich to be like, John, I need you to redo all the footage. I
Nah.
added something.
No, I'm not gonna do that too.
All right.
Um,
So, favorite piece of gear.
favorite piece of gear. You know, I really love my super micro servers. I love them to death. I'm currently infatuated with the new Sophos rebuild into a PF Sense box because it's super cool. Yeah, so I mean, I love every little. They're like my babies. Like when you have to get rid of a piece of hardware, there's a moment you're just like, oh, I'm
Moment of
sorry,
silence.
little one. I'm just gonna throw you away. Sorry.
Apparently, he treats his gear like goldfish going down the toilet.
More, I treat them way better goldfish. I feed my servers more. Anyway,
That's
so yeah,
worrisome.
Feeds them power.
yeah, that's for sure.
All right. So, what is your least favorite piece of gear?
I don't know if I have a least favorite. I would say the most problematic piece of gear is the Synology NAS that is there, and
Okay, but it's lived out its time.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
attached to it. It's
Oh.
problematic because he won't
Oh,
let
yeah.
it go. That's,
So, yeah, like insider story here. Rich and I used to work together, and we were finally recycling the R710s that Rich had built his first cluster with at his job. And he was like, tear in his eye, like, I'm letting go of my like children.
Mhm.
And I'm like, they're like 10 years old. Bye.
I don't know. I have an emotional attachment, but the Synology is just starting to have issues. Like, it's just a backup target now, and it can only be because it just hangs periodically, it just goes away. And when it goes away, the only thing I do is just go beep and turn the power off and turn it back on. So, but for the most part, it's reliable. But that's all it's used for, backup. So that is the thing that I'm waiting for it to die so I can take the drives out, move, and something else. But the backup software in Synology is just so good.
You get
So
another
good.
one.
No.
No?
Not that. I mean, that thing's that's like $1,500 for that platform. That's a lot of money.
he's being nostalgic, not when it points to the future. There are better options out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So-
yeah, more affordable for sure. Right.
All right. So,
Hmm.
what does your SO think of all that downstairs going on?
My wife, she's fine with it. Like, you guys, no, I mean, if you are married, you have accepted your partner's personality traits. You're right, and so for sure, for her, it's like, okay, there's this thing, and I mean, it's all professional. It's all racked up and looks all sexy. So I mean, it's kind of a showpiece. But yeah, she's used to it by now.
In the back of every TV is just.
No. It's in the garage. You don't hear that stuff. I mean,
Uh-huh.
specifically, and I don't have any 1U servers in there intentionally because I don't want that. So
I think you could step up your game, put like a glass box around it, and like a themed server room.
the only thing I would add to that rack to make it better would be to get a fully enclosed rack and put one of those miniature air conditioners on the side of it, so that it could run
jeez.
unaided. That's way more. That
That
Is
would
that-
definitely be an SO
yeah.
question.
If you're worried about the $1,500 for a new Synology, maybe not investing into the AC unit. That's a
they're
good idea.
they're really great. They're little tiny things. They bolt on the side, but your rack has to be enclosed, right? Because it's blowing air. But come on, they're completely enclosed, like cold up front, hot in the back. Woo! I think it's great. Yeah.
All right, so Brandon, when are you gonna upgrade your server with an air conditioner?
Oh jeez, I'm not adding an air conditioner.
No?
I don't even have a full like closed rack the way that Rich does. I don't have a fully enclosed airtight rack, but I have a open rack 22U. But I'm not gonna be adding air conditioning because it won't really help.
I feel like Brandon's like motto for his build is Mad Max, kind of.
Oh yeah, no, I'll just put anything together. If I can get my hands on it, it's gonna go in my rack. Like,
I'm scrappy.
yeah.
All right, so what is your favorite piece of gear?
Oh man, I think I'd probably have to say my Dell R730 XD, just because I loaded 12 drives in the front. I have all flash in the back. It's got one of those. I think it's an OCP 3.0 NIC sitting in there doing 10 gig. So it's got a lot of like really cool features, and it's kind of this could be an all-in-one box if I really wanted to go that way. Not that I would go that way. I'm way too much of a hardware nut for that.
I could see that with your PF Sense box.
Yeah.
Like, which would be a normal person's gaming rig
Yeah.
is running PF Sense. So.
I need a gaming rig for my firewall. I'm sorry.
All right. So what's your least favorite piece of gear?
Oh, the Quanta server. So we recently discovered there was a CVE that came out that had a bug in the Quanta BMC where you could jump from the IPMI into the hypervisor into active VMs. It was pretty bad. And so I was like, okay, well, no, whatever, bugs happen. We accept that. I'll just reach out to Quanta and, they'll send me a new firmware or whatever. So I reached out and support was really great. They've always been really good on the support side. But when I reached out, they told me that my server was end of life. It was marked as end of life.
Okay.
This server is only 5 years old. It's got Intel scalable CPUs in it. And to hear something is end of life in the server market in just 5 years, that's a new one for me. Maybe that's something that like
Someone needs their
hyperscaler-
bonus.
Yeah, I'm like
that's bananas, dude.
bananas to me. And so they were like, oh, well, we're gonna go and we're gonna give it to HQ and we'll see what they say. And of course they came back and they told me no.
But I'm sure they already even have the fix.
That,
Right?
yeah, that was kind of my thing. But I was like, it is what it is if I can't get it. But it's motivated me to just be like, okay, well, screw that. I'm not dealing with Quanta anymore. I'll find another use for all that hardware.
We can take and beat it with a baseball bat, like Office Space.
Yeah, might as well.
But it's not PC load letter. It's actually an okay server.
Yeah.
It's just the company that sucks, right?
Yeah, and like it's really weird because it's kind of this commodity hardware stuff. It doesn't have any branding to it. It's not like it's a Dell BIOS or anything big like that. But it's great performer, nice open source. I guess it's the IPMI Redfish that they're using. Kind of they've definitely changed
Customized
the
it,
way
yeah.
it works, but it was a good server. It just sucks that like I can't even get patches for it. And I know it's not a huge deal because I'm not exposing it to the internet in any ways, but it just
Sure.
kind of rubs me
Still,
the wrong way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sucks.
But yeah, so that's definitely my least favorite right now.
All right.
It's on the list to get rid of.
Okay, so I know you didn't have to hire an electrician for your rack, but what does your SO think?
She's actually really supportive of it.
Yeah?
Partly is because it has some of her games on it, like Minecraft. A lot of gaming servers I run in Docker containers like that. So
There you
there's
go.
a little bit of benefit for both. And
Yeah.
now it sits out in the garage, so no one hears anything either.
Yeah.
So
All right, where was it before?
well, it's sat down in like I had a basement garage that it kind of sat in.
Mhm.
I've had it sit in my basement. I've had it sit in my crawl space. But finally, it's in a safe garage.
I guess I was just imagining like Allie like looking over and just right here, like next to her.
I've thought about it, but it's just too loud. And like when I first moved up to Oregon, it was when we had hot summers.
Yes.
And so it was, I didn't want it was already 90 outside. I didn't need the additional
Yeah.
heat rising in my,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
All
my
right.
apartment. So
All right, John, you're last on the list. What's your favorite piece of gear?
Well, obviously mine's a little different from your guys's. I
Sure.
don't really have a home lab. It's more of a home.
It's more of a
Smart
that's still
home
production
corner.
Right? Yeah.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
it could be any size home lab is home lab.
Yeah, this is
So-
true. And honestly, I really appreciate the work you two do because I benefit from it a lot. And my Switch really appreciates both of you. So,
So what's your favorite piece of gear then?
the Ubiquiti AP,
Yeah.
long range edition.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
It's absurd. I don't even like use Wi-Fi on my computer, but there's something about coming home and you're like half a block away and your music just cuts out in your car because it's like, oh, connecting to Wi-Fi. I'm like, my house looks like this down the street.
Yeah.
All right. In all seriousness, though, it's my NAS, like the Mini X Plus.
That's
I
right.
love editing off of it, and I know that sounds weird. You love editing off of a device, but I don't know. I explained in the video why, but it's just great. It's a great piece of hardware.
Well, yeah, I mean, being able to have everything at your fingertips, and I mean, how could you not want that, right?
Yeah.
No more downloading of things from your 500 megabit connection.
No more breaks. I can just access it.
Yeah, like no
immediately.
more. Like, yeah, speaking
Get
of that, no
back
more
to
breaks.
work.
What's going on?
I noticed the longer we've been doing the YouTube channel, like my workflow doesn't get interrupted now. So I just like, oh, I'll go downstairs, make a pot of coffee, and now it's like, oh, it's done already. Crap.
I can't even go downstairs. What's your least favorite piece of hardware in the rack? And that includes IoT stuff, in case that's...
Oh, I really don't have anything else because I have nothing to complain about with the actual network
I
stuff.
thought you were gonna say Zotac.
Well, we fixed that.
We fixed the Zotac thing.
Oh no, but the reason it's Zotac is not because anything's wrong with the hardware. It's because you can hear Rich admin into it.
Oh, it's been a while.
Look,
That was actually my favorite piece of hardware. When like all of a sudden, I was telling
Yeah.
Brandon about this. Like when you log in to PFSense,
Yeah, it beeps.
it beeps, and so randomly I'd hear this beep, and I'm like, "What is that?" And then my internet would go down, and I'm like,
that is not. Your internet never went down because I logged into it.
It's just a coincidence,
no,
I'm sure.
No, I witnessed it. We were sitting there like troubleshooting it because it actually it had a really bad old drive in it. So
yeah,
we
the SSD
replaced
failed,
it, right?
Yeah.
But I was sitting there and I just hear doo-doo, and John's like, it's every time. Just like
I'm
Yeah.
only doing maintenance.
I mean, joking aside, it's probably all my smart home stuff, which is completely unnecessary, and I have a small addiction to it.
And we
but
could do a whole video about how awful smart home is and the state of smart home.
Oh my
It's
God.
been a horrible for years, and
So-
Rich and I are totally addicted to it. But
It does make your life, when it works really well. When it doesn't work, it's really bad.
Yeah.
So
It works great for a couple years, and then the company's like, "Well, we're not making any money anymore. We better pull the plug."
Yeah.
So, what is your SO's opinion about all of this? Because you have this nice, very well organized office, and it's just kind of quietly tucked in the corner. What does your SO think?
well, as you guys know, it's a very small room,
It is.
and space is a premium. And so
It's either her or the rack. Sorry, babe. you
that's
gotta
kind of
go.
what happened, because there used to be a chair there. Okay.
you actually did it.
Yeah,
The madman did it.
The chair had to go.
There
The chair had
was,
to go.
so when I edit, Michelle kind of sits back here
Mhm.
and got a TV above my setup, and she can watch shows while I'm editing.
Mhm.
And now the rack is there, and she's behind me, so now she can't see.
She's like in a
TV.
bad movie theater, and there's a head. in
No,
front
seriously, this is me with my headphones. She's like, he's ignoring me. He's ignoring me. I mean, for all I know, she's having conversations with me, and I have my headphones on, so I'm
Of
horrible.
Oh,
But yeah, no, she doesn't mind at all. She thinks, yeah,
right after that. like-
love you. See you later tonight.
Uh,
She's gonna watch this while I'm editing later. Great.
over and over again.
Anyway,
Well, cool. We hope you guys enjoyed our little run through of our racks, and we'd love to know in those comments what you think about mine, Brandon's, and John's.
I thought you were gonna be like, see y'all later or
See, well-
something.
well, I
So I was waiting for like, we're just gonna be like, see y'all later, and then John and I could say see y'all later, but you just hard
here, look, here's
cut.
what we'll do. I'll just add like a beep. Be like, if you could just try it now. Ready?
What do you want me to do?
We're gonna try this again. You're gonna say, good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
See y'all.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Why are we saying good night? Because it's nighttime outside?
I don't know. I said see ya. I don't know why you guys said goodnight.
Wait, John said good night, ladies and gentlemen.
No, because I'm not gonna cut any of this. I'm just gonna leave it.
I mean, that was actually not too bad.
Yeah,
of a, like
I
a
thought
roll
so.
through.
Yeah.
So
All right,
I
let's
think we
stop
should.
it.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Let's stop it. Let's see how
Pause
it
it.
looks and sounds.